Hello and welcome back to Sharks Happen. On today's show we are going to go over an attack on a swimmer, on somebody that's bathing, on a surfer. We're going to have an attack on a snorkeler. We'll finish out the show with another little bit of a what were you thinking, at least to me it is, from what happens and where it is. And that'll be it for the show. I hope you stick around. It's going to be a great show. Okay, usually I leave comments to the end of the show. Well, today I want to leave a couple comments here right now before we get into the show. I want to tell Lauren or Lauren T. I don't know which it is, but I did see your question when I was going through questions the other day, and I actually answered it. Now, I don't go back through my questions normally, and I do see people on the Team YouTube Twitter page say that their comments disappear, that YouTube's deleting their comments. I didn't think it was happening to me, but I never went back to look. On Lauren, you asked me what the difference between why I am sorting out between attempt to predate, trying to eat someone, and not. And I went ahead and answered that question, and then when I went back through, because there was also somebody that said that they were in a shark attack with the bull shark, I do believe it is, and I think their name might have been Eric. I just glanced at the name real quick and figured I would go back and get that attack, look into it, and contact the guy and say, hey, I'd like to interview you for this attack. Well, that comment's gone. The comment that I replied to you is gone. I don't know if you saw it yet, so I'm going to answer the question here. I want stats. I want a percentage of the times that large sharks try to eat people to the number of percentage of times that they're just territorial. They're just biting because they're angry, they want you out of their area, whatever it is. I want to know how many times when we run into a large shark out of 10, say, so 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, whatever it is, how many times that large shark is going to try to eat a person. And it's also going to tell us how many times that the shark's not trying to eat you, but because it's a large shark, it ends up killing you. So these stats, to me, are kind of what I'm looking for the show. And the whole thing came about because I was in a conversation in the Keys, and the people I was talking to said that sharks don't eat people. So I didn't have any stats. That's why I do this show. So that answers your question. I don't know if you saw it before it was gone. The other gentleman that was in an attack, I didn't get the information. I was going to go through, pull that attack up, like I said. So if you can, contact me at sharkshappen@gmail.com. I'd love to talk to you about that attack. And then the other thing was I had to go back because the same viewer had been asking me over and over to cover this Hawaiian attack on the snorkeler, and I hadn't done it yet, so I had to go back and make sure that I had the right one. I didn't cover it thoroughly back then. Back then what I did was I updated on some attacks, and I did talk about that. Wasn't able to find much more than what I did find, and that'll come up in the rest of the show. So I wanted to answer those questions before we get into the attacks, and we'll start those now. Okay, now we're going to start out real quick. We're going to head over to Hong Kong, and the date on this attack is June of 1954. There was a naval raiding, I'm assuming for Hong Kong or China, but I don't know for sure. So a naval raiding was on a ship, and he was next to the ship, and he was swimming, and a shark came up, bit him in the leg, and bit him so bad that he ended up passing away from his wounds. By the time they got him up on the ship, it sounds like that he had already pretty much died from loss of blood. So very bad attack to his leg. We don't know what type of shark, what size of shark. We just know that he was swimming next to the boat, and that's when he was bitten. So, you know, like I said, when you have a large boat around you, like a large ship you're on, like Cameron Robbins jumping into that water, there's normally, if the boat is sitting like it was with Cameron Robbins, you're going to get fish using it to hide from bigger fish, and bigger fish are going to use it to attack those smaller fish that are hiding. And the bigger fish are going to start attacking those fish, going after those smaller fish, and it's all the way till you get to sharks. So, you know, you're on a cruise ship and it's been sitting in port, sitting in some waters for a while, and it's known to have sharks. I would advise not jumping into that water. And that's the attack on an unknown person from June of 1954 in Hong Kong, and we will move on. You know, we're going to head over to Bahia Totorolillo, and that is over in Chile, and the date is March 4th of 1981. Carlos Vergara, he is out with 2 others, and they are doing some spearfishing at 10:30. They are out and the three are spread out. They're about 50 yards from shore, but they're spread out by about 15 yards from each other. Carlos is behind the other two, and he sees right around 10:30, he looks down and he sees he's in 15 feet water, 5 meter deep. He's 50 yards from shore, and it's 10:30. He looks down and he sees a flounder down there he wants to go after. So it's real turbid. There's 3 to 4 meter visibility at the most. So he dives vertically to look down at the bottom to see if he can see this fish. And as he does that, as soon as he gets vertical, a shark grabs him by the foot and drags him down the 15 feet down to the seafloor. And he looks down and he sees the shark. He says he saw the eye of the shark, and he said that the head of the shark was about 30 to 40 centimeters, so 11 inches wide. He's got his foot in the mouth and wouldn't let go, so he took his other foot and kicked it in the head. I believe it was twice, and the shark released him and swam off. He makes it back in and he goes in to get fixed up. He's bitten in the foot, and he has, I believe it is 2 more puncture wound than cut. And they're pretty deep, and they said that with the way that they're deep like that, this is about a 7-foot shark. You gotta look at the size of the shark, so 7 feet. Got to look at the size of the head. He said 30 to 40 centimeters. And the shark bit him in the foot. Now he ends up with the back of the leg front of the leg having a gash with a deep cut in it. And then the back heel has a gash also with a deep cut in there. And at first they were thinking that this was a mako shark, but being right close to shore, they went ahead and started looking at it. And when you look at these great whites and you look at these back corner, if you get a back corner bite from a great white, you're going to get more of a puncture wound than you're going to get like a slashing wound, because the front teeth go triangular, whereas the back corner ones, they're still kind of spiky even on a bigger shark. So they think this is a 7-foot great white shark that went ahead and got in there and got at him. They believe that it might have been, there was a boat dynamiting fish in the area earlier in the day, so they believe that might have attracted the shark. And while the spear fishermen had been spearing fish in about 5 meters of water, they didn't have them with them. They would put them on the float, it sounds like, and not be with the fish that have already been had. So it's possible that the dynamiting all the mackerel would draw the attention of a juvenile great white, and then it senses the movements of the swimmers and of any fish that they're catching, shooting, and all of a sudden the fish is struggling. Those are what are going to grab the attention, especially of a smaller great white like that, that fights, that still eats fish and hasn't switched over to mammals yet. So that's the attack on Carlos Vergara. He gets out with an attack, not an attempt to predate, a bite on the foot, taken to the bottom of the water, kicks the shark in the head, and it lets him go. We're going to put it down as a 7-foot shark. I'm not sure that it's a great white, so we'll leave that blank. Okay, now we're going to head over to Mogadishu, Somalia real quick. This is May of 1993. The UN took over control of the airport at Mogadishu from the United States, and the United States had their men swimming in the water there off the airport, and they didn't have any issues. Well, a French diplomat's secretary, she went out and took a swim, and she swam, and they said that she went far out. They didn't say exactly how far out, but if they're saying she went far out, she went far out. She got attacked. They don't have any details other than she died of blood loss and shock when they got her back in. So she wasn't consumed, but it sounds like she was attacked, and they think it was a Zambezi shark that went ahead and got her. Now after this attack, they went ahead and put in shark nets after she was attacked, the French diplomat's secretary. So they finally got those nets in there, but they were saying that the sharks might have been brought in by ship dumps in the area, and also that some of the butchers might have been dumping some of their carcasses into the water. So at first I thought it was strange that they pointed out that when the U.S. was in control, hundreds of U.S. servicemen went swimming without an issue. And then when the switch happened, well, maybe when that switch happened, that's when they started allowing them to dump stuff there, which would bring the sharks in. But you know, they also said that it's a very steep drop off right at that area. Like I said, it didn't happen before this lady's attack, but she was attacked and they put in the nets, and I don't think they've had a problem there since. But we have covered a couple of attacks there. I think the last one was off of a ship though. So, you know, don't quote me on that, but that's the attack on the French Diplomats secretary back in 1993 in Mogadishu, and we'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over quickly to Le Hermitage Lagoon, and that is over in St. Gillies or St. Gillies, and that's Reunion Island. The date is November 2nd of 2019. Richard Turner, he is 44 years old, and he and his wife are at, I believe it's their honeymoon, but he goes out and does a solo snorkeling or diving. I believe he was snorkeling. And he disappears. He's out, and they don't say what time he went out and what time he disappeared, but they launch a search. They don't find anything, and this happened on a Saturday. Now, the following Monday and Tuesday, researchers caught 5 tiger sharks, and these 5 tiger sharks were for research purposes. So they opened them up. When they opened up a 10-foot tiger shark that they caught, which is a large tiger shark, they found a man's hand with a wedding ring. Then they took that and showed it to the wife, and it turned out to be Richard's hand and wedding ring. They're not sure if he had drowned and he was scavenged. They're not sure if he was attacked by a shark, that shark, other sharks. But this shark, this 10-foot shark, ended up with his hand with his wedding ring on it in its stomach. So something had happened, whether it's a drowning, a shark attack, we don't know. They don't have doesn't sound like they recovered any more of the body. So there's no real way to make a determination. So it could be either one. Could be a shark attack that took him. Could be, he drowned, got caught up in, a tide that wasn't going to let him swim back in. There could have been all kinds of things that could happen. And that's the whole problem with being in the water in the first place, is we're not supposed to really be there. And a lot of things can go wrong. Even without the animals that are in there, there's a lot of things that can happen to you to where you don't make it back in, especially in the ocean. I mean, lakes are a little bit less dangerous, but you still have the problem where you can drown, you can cramp up, a lot of things can happen. And, that's why I like dry land. I don't mind swimming here in Michigan in lakes, freshwater lakes, that's not a problem, but I still usually stay in relatively shallow water just so that if I need to, I can stand up. So that's the attack on Richard Turner. We're not sure that it's an attack, so this one will go into stats, but it will say possible drowning on that, and it won't list a shark, and it will say that his hand was found in a 10-foot shark, and that's all we know. So 10-foot tiger shark ends up with his hand, could be anything. We'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Lennox Head. That is over in Australia, and the date on this attack, August 13th, 1989. Michael Guy is 17 years old. It's 6:30, and he and his friends, 6:30 in the morning, they are in, I've had 6:30 in the morning, 6:30 in the afternoon. I'm just assuming this is 6:30 in the morning, but it could be in the evening. He is with 2 friends, his brother and a friend, so there's 3 of them in the water. They are doing some surfing. Doesn't say how far from shore, depth of the water, or where his brother and his friend were as opposed to where he was. All he knows is a shark came up and hit him so hard it knocked him flying off of his board. So he goes flying off of his board from being hit from this shark. And it's reported to be anywhere from a 10-foot, 3-meter shark is what they call it, but some are saying 10 feet to 13 feet. So if it's 3 meters, it's a 10 and a half foot shark. Knocked him off his board. He goes flying. His friends are with, and the other 2 see this. He makes it back to his board, and now the 3 of them are trying to take a wave in, and it sounds like they had difficulty. So maybe these waves weren't the right ones to take in. So this shark makes another run at him and comes back at him after he gets back on his board. Michael sees the shark coming, and it comes and takes a huge bite out of his board. And after that, it swims off. They all get in. Nobody's injured. He gets knocked flying from his board. No mention of any bruising or anything from the board hitting him. But the board doesn't survive. It's fatality for the board with the big shark bite out of it. I don't think you can use it anymore. So that's the attack on Michael Guy, 17 years old, another lucky one on a board that ends up with no injury whatsoever. Makes it in, has a board as a souvenir, and it goes down as an attack. Not an attempt to predate. They do assume that this is a 10-foot great white. Some had said it was a whaler though, a bronze whaler. So the type of shark is up into question, so we're going to put it down as a 10-foot shark. Not an attempt to predate, fatality to the board. Okay, now to finish out our unprovoked attacks, we're going to head over to Kawakapu Point, which is over in Maui, Hawaii. The date on this attack is December 8th of 2022. Kristine Allen, she is 60 years old and she is out doing some snorkeling with her husband. We don't know where she was at the time of day, but about 1 p.m. he is snorkeling about 50 yards from shore. Some have said 50 feet. But from what I hear of the rest of the story, I'm thinking it's probably 50 yards from shore. He's sitting there and him and his wife get separated. And he was looking for his wife when suddenly a large tiger shark, and this is reported as 10-foot, 12-foot tiger shark, this is a big tiger shark, it comes in at him and starts circling him. Now he's looking for his wife because like I said, they've been separated and you know, there's waves. He's in the water, he's looking for his wife, looking over the shark as the shark is circling him. Now the shark disappears and swims away, and he says that he seems to have saw some feeding activity, like the shark fins and everything. When the sharks are feeding, you can tell because of the commotion in the water. And then he claims that the shark came back at him after that, and he was the one who reported seeing red in the gills of the shark when it came back. I had mentioned that when I covered this, when I just glossed over this back when it happened, that somebody had reported seeing red in the gills and others had reported seeing a shark feeding. And he himself now, it seems, saw the shark feeding when it came and circled him and went back and fed on whatever it was and came back with red in its gills. And it was probably cloudy, coming out, you know, blood and tissue in there. So in the meantime, other people that were on the beach had seen the shark feeding and were yelling at him to get off the beach. So I don't know that he heard them, which is why I'm thinking it's 150 yards out. You're 150 yards out and there's all kinds of, you know, surfs crashing into the beach. You may not hear a scream to get out of the water. But some of the reports say that he did hear it and he got himself out of the water when they said that there was a shark feeding out in that area. So that's how it ended up. I'd assumed it was the other witnesses that saw the red in the gills, but it was him when he was in the water, when the shark came back. It was her husband that saw that. So he ends up, you know, having to go back into shore, leave his wife out there, probably already fully consumed by that shark is what I'm thinking, because it sounds like he was called to get out of the water when it was over the second time before it came back to him with the red in his gills. That's when the people were shouting at him to get out of the water. And just a scary situation altogether, just tragic for the wife. I have no doubt that that's what it was feeding on. You know, it would be highly, it would be odd for it to be feeding on something else and his wife just disappeared like that. So I haven't heard that they've recovered anything of hers. A lot of time, maybe I heard that, no, I'm gonna have to pull that back. I think they got her snorkel and part of her wetsuit. I believe that's what they found on her. Yes, the snorkel and part of the wetsuit was recovered. So they did recover, you know, something that showed that she was attacked. And like I said, it was a large tiger shark that got a hold of her, 10 to 12 footer. I have to double check that because there's a lot of stories on them. You get different sizes. So when I go to put these in the stats, it's going to be a tiger shark. Whatever size it comes up to is what I decided from all the different reports of the sizes. There was only a few witnesses, so that should be real easy to nail down. But just, you know, to be able to see, you know, red and in the gills of the shark after it returned, it's heebie-jeebies situation right there. So that's the attack on Kristine Allen, 60 years old, an attack, a predation by a tiger shark, at least 10 feet long and most likely bigger. And we'll get on to the end of the show with what were you thinking. Okay, before we get into the end of the show, I wanted to thank the viewer that sent me the scientists are now they're on a quest. They're gonna find out, they're out to figure out, I should say, which sharks should be eliminated? Which ones are going to be a problem? Well, let me tell you. I stopped reading it right there because I doubt that anything's going to come of this, because you can't figure that out. Unless that shark is visibly injured, visibly going after people over and over, or ill, you aren't going to be able to tell if that shark's going to attack people. At least if it's going to eat people, because I mean, you aren't going to stop a shark. They all will bite you if you're in their area and they want you out. They all will bite you if you're playing around in their surf and they're in their feeding. They all will bite you for different reasons, but they only feed on us when they're desperate, when they're hungry. And you aren't going to be able to tell which shark missed its meal 3 times in a row. It can't get that fish. Didn't get that seal. The sea lion got away. Everybody else ate the whale. And all of a sudden, you've got a shark roaming around out there that hasn't fed, that has to keep a bunch of calories in itself just to continue to try to feed and keep doing this cycle. Once you break that cycle of calories coming in to what they're spending for feeding, that's when they come after us. I'm positive that every large shark that eats a person is a desperate shark. That's all there is to it. You aren't going to find a person in a shark's stomach and it's going to have a blue shark and a part of a turtle, like the Malta shark that had a blue shark, dolphin, and part of a turtle in itself. It had that, an 8-foot blue shark, a regular dolphin, and then a turtle in there. Well, you aren't going to find that when you find a human and a shark, because the shark ate the human because it needs to have the energy to go out and eat its normal food. The dolphins, the whatever's laying on the surface, whatever sharks eat. If they're not getting what they need to eat, they're going to eat the easiest thing there is. And that's why, even with bull sharks, I'm thinking it has to do with, have they eaten and are they desperate? I don't think bull sharks are out to eat us any more than any other shark. I don't think tiger sharks are out to eat us any more than other shark, and I know great whites are desperate when they do. So I'm just going by about 1,500 attacks by large sharks that I've gone over and covered, and I can say that what we've looked at is pretty much what there is. There isn't going to be something just outside of the norms mostly. There's going to be some strange attacks. We're going to cover one coming up in the next couple shows where you had like 4 people have a run-in with the shark, and that's an interesting one. That was from, I believe, this year, maybe last year. So that does happen, and that's out of the norm. But as far as sharks' actions when they're attacking, that's what I look at. The victims, I look at what they did to the victims, but what I'm looking at is shark behavior prior to, during, and after the attack. That's it. And by those things, you're just not going to end up with a lot of information, especially on which sharks you should eliminate. I don't think you should eliminate any sharks for people to use the water to alleviate attacks. You need to, look at the shark numbers and look at the fish numbers that they're feeding on. Look at everything all the way down the chain of what the sharks are feeding on. Because if you start losing their top of the chain, all of a sudden you're going to start losing the chain going down. So the way to tell, I think, if there's too many sharks is there a lot less fish than there used to be. You're getting a lot more sharks on your long lines than you used to get tunas, or than you used to get swordfish, that kind of a thing. So I think they need to balance that and look at other fishes that they eat to determine whether numbers need to be brought down or not. I don't think we should be in the equation at all. So I wanted to bring that up, let you guys know that I don't think that, if honest, that they will be able to come up with some kind of a pinpoint to know which sharks are trouble. I can't do that. H. David Baldrige would have laughed at that. You can't do it. So that's it for that. Okay, now to finish out the show, we're going to do our What Were You Thinking? We're going to go over to the shark attack capital of the world, New Smyrna Beach, over in Florida. The date on this attack is August 27th of 2019. And Donald Walsh, is that his name? Yeah, Donald Walsh, he's doing some surfing. And one of the stories, the one that I'm going to put the clip in there, he's been in the water surfing for like 3 hours, it says. And now just before he gets out of the water, he wants to do a little stunt. He wants to catch some air off of a wave. So shark attack capital of the world, and you're going to catch some air off of a wave. Now, I will say, landing on a shark, landing on a shark is low odds, even on New Smyrna Beach, but man, did he nail it. So, when what you're doing when you're catching air is you're going into the wave to hit the wave with some speed and then shoot your body up in the air. So you go flying off your board, and when he lands on a shark. It doesn't say how far from the beach he is, but he's in about waist deep water when he lands, but he lands on top of a shark. And the shark didn't like it at all, of course. It bit him in the leg and it bit him in the hand. So he got 2 bites from the shark that he landed on, and then the shark went off. I don't believe that the bites were very deep or very, very damaging. It sounds like just a bite and release and a bite and release. And I don't even think that he went in to get it taken care of at a hospital. I think that's how minimal damage was done by the 2 bites, but he's lucky. He says it was about a 2-meter shark, so you're talking a 7-foot shark that he landed on. And, that could be any of those sharks that are over in that water, whether it be like a sand tiger, a bull shark if it's in the area, the usual spinner shark, and your black tip shark. Could be anybody. But he decided to catch some air. Jesus. I won't even go in the water, and these people are going airborne in shark-infested waters. So I just wanted to bring that one up with what do you think? And if you're on a surfboard, at least that's some protection from the shark. Now you've launched yourself. You landed on the shark. That's our story of Mr. Walsh, Donald Walsh, just a freak accident, and the odds are so low of that happening. It's almost the odds of that woman that was laying there on her surfboard and that spinner shark came up and smacked her in the head, and it gave her a black eye, smacking her head off of her board. Yeah, they've jumped on boards before, but that's about how low the odds are of you launching yourself from a surfboard and actually landing on the shark. Very low odds indeed. Scary situation, but he survives. An attack, not an attempt to predate, pretty much provoked. And that's the story of Donald Walsh. And now I'll give you guys one quick little story that I told my dad I'm going to have to embarrass myself and tell this story. So I'm not sure how long ago this was. It could have been the first time I tried to get out of tool and die. It could be the last time I tried to get out of tool and die, and that would be after I became a realtor in 2016. So it's sometime around 2014 to 2016, and I am out and I am trying to do taxi driving. I take up a taxi driving job over in pretty much Mount Clemens here in Michigan. And I loved it. I love driving cars. That's why I drive to the Keys. That's why I drive to Georgia. I got a new car, and I have, I think, my 6th payment's coming up, and I have 25,000 miles on the car. I drive a lot more than people. So when you hear about my tickets especially, you have to know I drive about 10 times more than the normal person. I almost drive like a trucker. So I'm in this taxi. And I lived at Cass and Romeo Plank at the time over in Clinton Township. And one of the places I'm sent is to pick up these people. I picked them up, and this is my first week working for the cab company. I have to throw that in there. So the second time this whole week, and it's Friday, I'm sent, and it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm sent to the street Rose, and it's right over by my house. Pick these 2 up from this little apartment complex and take them to where they work, which is just 4 or 5 miles away. So I get there, I pull in, it's got a driveway, you pull around and you pull into the parking spots. So I park in the parking spots, they come out of their room and they come down and get in the back of the cab. Now I put it in reverse, back up a little bit and start driving. What I didn't see when I pulled in was there's a big boulder. There's one little strip, and that's why I say I pulled around and parked. There's a strip of grass right there. So you don't want to drive on the grass, so you go around the grass. Well, what I didn't notice is there's a big-ass boulder right there at the front of this thing to keep people from actually driving over the grass. So I wouldn't have driven on that grass. I went ahead and went around it because I didn't even notice the rock. But I noticed the rock this time because that car just went up, boom, that's it. The car won't go forward or back. It's on the frame on this rock. The two guys that I'm giving the ride to let me know at this time, oh yeah, this has happened 7 or 8 times since they put that rock in about a month ago, and everybody needs to get a record. Jesus Christ. So I'm sitting there, and first I try everything I can do to get this thing off the rock. I grab a 2x4, try to wedge that in there, to wedge it under the tires to get it traction. Nothing's working. So I try this for about a half hour. That ain't gonna work. I call in and tell them I need a wrecker. Now, as I do this and tell the taxi dispatcher I need a wrecker sent out to get me the hell off this rock, I look over to the left of me, and these two guys I just gave a ride to, you know, this is the days of Facebook. They got their camera out. Oh shit. I lean back, hiding myself by that side of the door there, and told them, don't take that picture. I know it's going on Facebook, so I'm hiding from a Facebook picture of this. People are coming home and they're laughing. A couple of them take a picture of the car. They tell me that it's happened so many times in the last month. I'm like, you could have given me a heads up when I was taking you guys to your work. So before I even got done, another cab had picked them up and taken them in with me stuck on a rock. So, you know, that's my little story of the craziest day when I'm probably the stupidest first week of work anywhere, as I lodged this luckily I didn't damage the oil pan and have to pay anything extra. Then the money I had to pay to get the tow truck to get the car off the rock, and that was it. So that's a show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back in another 5 or 6 days with another show. But until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of these sharks than they are of you.